So we're back in Tin Can, and as you can see, we're going to have a look at the storage system today, which is not yet live on the public branch, but I'm in the experimental branch, and I'm just having an early look at what this is going to look like. And there's some interesting decisions that have been taken here. I'd love to know what everybody else's thoughts on these are. So I'll start with some of the obvious stuff, and as you can see, the fire extinguisher is sort of already implemented as well. Let me just check for some reason. Oh, there we go. We can actually open this up, and you can use the fire extinguisher. And as I said in my previous video, if you haven't seen this already, fire is one of the things that's coming with this update. There's of course a couple of other things that are coming as well that's really exciting, but so far we can already have an early look at the storage. And I'm going to start directly with the bit that's maybe a little bit controversial in terms of how much space they're giving to different components, which I find a bit puzzling. So if you look at this, so basically these are for CRT monitors, and then these are for batteries and a couple of other electrical components. And as you can see, everything is classified like this. So you essentially have the display storage, you have electrical, there's high capacity electrical storage, then there's electronic. These are sort of the smaller things. I'll talk about this in a second. And then we have the hydraulic storage as well. So this includes things such as the pumps that you have. Now, the reason why this is strange for me is that if you've looked at my tutorial videos, there are certain things that you almost immediately want to get out of most of the system. So one of those things are batteries. And there's really only one system where battery power is absolutely critical, and that's the carbon dioxide scrubber. You really can't have this not working. Even the oxygen generator, you can get away without it working because you can vent oxygen manually. We'll just grab this for now, just so that I can illustrate how this actually works. And even some of the other systems. So very often I say that you need to have a battery in here, but the reality is there are a lot of situations where you don't need to immediately regulate the temperature. So you could technically get away with not having one in here, at least for some of the time. You definitely have to put it in at certain times. But this is where it's really strange, because they only give you 2 battery slots. So you're definitely going to have a lot of batteries still lying around on the floor. And then for some reason you have spots for 4 CRT monitors, and I don't know if a lot of people are storing those, but I find that ratio kind of puzzling. And it's even more puzzling just because there is space to put more of the storage space in here. And it sort of continues along this trend. If I look at the electronic storage, if you look at this top one, you might wonder what that's for. Well, this is actually for, if we just go in here again, if I take this buzzer out, this is for buzzers. And again, I just can't imagine a situation in which you would need to store 5 different buzzers, but you only need to store 2 batteries. And look, I mean, this is a very early look. This could still change, and there's a couple of unknowns for me here. So the one thing is that I obviously play this game in a certain way, and I get that other people might have different strategies, and for them having this ratio could make sense. It's also possible that there's a longer term plans that the developers would have that I may not be aware of, and that could be dictating some of these ratios. And you know, there's also this component of there may be some spare parts in here. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, but I think that the idea is that at the beginning of the game you may already have some spare parts in here. But even with that being the case, I would still find it really strange that you could only potentially have 2 batteries and 4 CRT monitors, because batteries are a lot more useful, they're a lot more critical. Technically, you could get away with just having 1 CRT monitor and swapping that between systems. And yes, that's not a very nice way to work with them, but it's still better than having no batteries. Not to get hung up on the battery specifically, but just to talk about the ratios. And then of course, you know, it's possible that they are still going to be tweaking these and changing these. This game is still very much in early access, and as I said, this particular update that we're looking at hasn't launched yet. This is currently on the experimental branch. But I would love to know from your side, what do you think of this? Is this more or less what you had in mind for the storage? How do you play the game? Do you also tend to store up a lot of things like batteries? You know, what do you think about the ratios? Would love to hear from you in the comment section below. And then of course, like always, if you do like this kind of content, do like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next video.